No one told me that the hardest part of aging wouldn't be the wrinkles, but the feeling of slowly becoming invisible. I used to be beautiful, not in the magazine sense, not in the stop traffic sense, but in the way women know they're beautiful. When people look up, when they walk in, when compliments come without hesitation, when mirrors feel kind. There was a time when I caught eyes in grocery store aisles, when lipstick felt like power, and when my reflection felt like a friend. But these days something has shifted. The world no longer sees me. Or maybe it does, but differently, like I've aged into the background. The compliments have stopped. The eyes now glance past. And the mirror, well, the mirror and I are negotiating new terms. No one told me about this kind of loss. Not a death, not a crisis, just a slow fading, a quiet, invisible grief. And maybe I wouldn't have listened if they had warned me. I was too busy living in that beautiful skin, that season of light and attention. I didn't know beauty had an expiration date, not the kind on bottles, but the one printed in culture. This isn't just a story about wrinkles or gray hairs. It's about what it means to be a woman in a world that measures value in youthful glow and passing glances. This is a story for every woman who's ever looked in the mirror and whispered, "Where did I go?" Let's begin there. There wasn't a single day when it happened. No moment when the light in my face turned dull or the world simply stopped looking. It was a slow, subtle vanishing, so gradual that even I didn't notice it at first. It came like fog, soft creeping and quiet. It began in the way strangers addressed me. Once I was miss, then ma'am. Now often I'm just invisible. I remember standing in the skincare aisle of the drugstore, holding a jar of something that promised to rewind time. I wasn't sure what I wanted more, the actual results or the hope it carried. A younger woman brushed past me, reaching for the same brand. She didn't even see me. Not out of rudeness, just absence, like I'd blended into the shelves. I went home that night and stared at my reflection longer than usual. There were lines I hadn't memorized yet, a heaviness beneath my eyes I hadn't noticed. My jawline was softer. The face looking back wasn't unfamiliar, but it wasn't the one I carried through my 20s, 30s, even 40s. The shock isn't in the aging. We all expect that. The real ache is in the silence that follows. No one tells you how alone it can feel to become unseen. You walk into rooms and no longer light them. You smile and fewer people smile back. It's not just men, though, they were the first to look through me. It's everyone, waiters, salespeople, the world at large. The same society that taught me my beauty was my worth now treats me like I've used it up, as if I cashed in all my chips before I understood the game. And that's the part that stings the most. No one warned me that beauty once given so freely would become a currency I could no longer spend. I started noticing my friends go quiet too. Not about the wrinkles, we joke about those. Not about the sagging, we trade bras and recommend firming creams. But about the deeper grief, the unspoken loss of being admired, desired. We've all shrunk a little in the silence. We've learned to soften our expectations. I used to be the kind of woman who walked confidently into any space. I knew how to use a glance, a tilt of the head, a red lip. Not for validation, but because it was a language I spoke fluently. The art of being looked at was woven into my life. Now I still wear lipstick sometimes, but it feels more like war paint than charm. I apply it not to attract, but to remember. To remind myself that I once felt magnetic, that I still can, even if only in the quiet of my own bathroom mirror. Some mornings I look in the mirror and try to see something beautiful again. Not youth, not flawlessness, but me. I think of the girl I was at 25. She didn't know how quickly the world would stop paying attention. I wish I could whisper to her, "Beauty is fleeting, but your worth is not." But she wouldn't have listened, and maybe that's okay, because I'm not here to scold the girl I was. I'm here to understand the woman I've become. I'm learning that real beauty, the kind that remains, lives in how I speak gently to myself now. How I've become tender with my aging. How I've started noticing the curves of wisdom in my own face. And still on the worst days I ache. Not just for what I've lost, but for how easily it was taken. And how quietly the world forgets to tell us we're still radiant even now. There's a particular kind of grief that doesn't arrive with funerals or flowers. It doesn't earn casseroles or condolence cards. It comes alone on a Wednesday afternoon in the fitting room of a department store. That was where it hit me once harder than I expected. I was trying on a dress I would have worn effortlessly 10 years ago. Back then I wouldn't have questioned if I could pull it off. I simply would have. But now the zipper paused at the waist. The fabric clung where it used to glide. My reflection didn't mock me. It just stared blank and silent, as if waiting for me to recognize what I already knew. I sat down still half-dressed and cried quietly. Not because of the dress, but because no one had told me how much it would hurt to feel like I was fading out of my own story. I mourned the version of myself who felt beautiful without needing reassurance. I missed the spontaneity of slipping into something fitted and not thinking twice. I missed the thrill of a sudden compliment. I missed the sense of power that came from being noticed. That's the part no one prepares you for, the slow unraveling of a certain kind of presence. A soft erasure, a beauty that used to be affirmed not just by others, but by how you saw yourself. Now I find myself negotiating with the mirror. If I wear this blouse with that necklace, maybe it draws attention to my eyes. If I cut my hair this way, will it help me look more awake? It's not vanity. It's survival of self-image, and it's exhausting. And yet this grief stays hidden because it's the kind the world deems frivolous. We're taught not to speak of it, that it's shallow to mourn your looks, that we should embrace aging age gracefully, let go of ego. But those phrases feel like a blanket thrown over a bleeding heart. Because the truth is, beauty for many of us was never just about looks. It was about connection, confidence, power, presence. It was how we signaled to the world and to ourselves that we mattered, that we were alive. So when that beauty shifts, changes, recedes, it leaves an empty seat at the table, one we're not allowed to name. No one asks middle-aged women, "How are you coping with being unseen?" No one offers support for the slow vanishing. Instead, we get anti-aging ads, creams and serums and soft focus filters, tools to hide the truth but never heal it. But healing doesn't come in a bottle. It comes in permission. Permission to say yes. I miss being beautiful in the way the world once recognized it. Permission to grieve. Yes, this change hurts more than I expected. Permission to feel the loss without being shamed for it. Sometimes I talk to my girlfriends about it cautiously, like we're opening a secret drawer. We laugh a little too loudly when someone mentions her neck skin or gravity taking over. But underneath the jokes is sorrow, a quiet one we carry like soft stones in our pockets. One of my friends said, "I don't need to be young again. I just miss being seen. That sentence gutted me, because it was the truth I'd been avoiding. Being seen isn't just about beauty, it's about existence. And when that starts slipping, it's not just a vanity wound, it's an existential one. So what do? We begin by admitting it. We tell each other the truth. We stop pretending we don't care, because beneath the brave face is a heart that longs to be affirmed again, not just for our wisdom or our resilience, but for the soft, still beautiful selves we are today. Maybe aging is an invitation not to disappear, but to reclaim ourselves one honest confession at a time. Maybe our beauty didn't leave. Maybe it just went underground, waiting for us to dig it back up, not through youth, but through truth. The shift didn't happen overnight, but something inside me began to soften, not in surrender, but in understanding. Maybe I wouldn't be seen the same way by the world again. Maybe I wouldn't stop traffic or spark curiosity across a room. But what if that wasn't the only kind of beauty that mattered? There's a difference between fading and evolving, and I began to realize I was evolving. At first, I tried to fight it. I chased youth the way you chase a train, already pulling away, frantically, hopelessly, always just out of reach. But eventually, I stopped running. I sat down, I caught my breath, and I looked around. I asked myself a question I hadn't dared to ask in years. What if beauty could look different now? Not smaller, not less meaningful, just different. I started noticing new things in the mirror. Not the lines themselves, but what they held. Each crease on my face had a memory etched into it. Laughter lines from years of joy I'd forgotten to honor. A deep furrow between my brows that came from years of caring too deeply, worrying for children, holding families together. These lines weren't flaws. They were evidence of life, of endurance, of presence. There's a different kind of radiance that comes with being a woman who's made it this far. It's quieter, yes, but it's also deeper, stronger. It's the glow of surviving heartbreak and still showing up. It's the shine that comes from letting go of roles and finally asking, what do I want now? I began dressing for myself again, not to impress, not to hide, but to express, to play, to remind myself that adornment is still allowed once liberated. I wore earrings that made no sense and bright lipstick on dull days. Not for them, for me. And the strangest thing happened. I started to feel seen again, but not because people looked. Because I looked. I paid attention to myself. I walked past a mirror and didn't flinch. I touched my own face gently instead of with critique. I stopped asking, do I look young? And started asking, do I look like me? That's the pivot. That's the freedom. I used to be beautiful in the way the world liked to reward, fresh-faced, smooth-skinned, full of promise. Now I am beautiful in the way only life can sculpt, weathered, complex, honest. I still miss it sometimes, the rush of being admired, the ease of turning heads. I still long now and then for the simplicity of knowing I could walk into a room and be acknowledged without effort. But I no longer let that longing steal from the woman I've become. Because this woman me now isn't invisible. She's just finally seeing herself through clearer eyes. There's a kind of elegance in not needing the world's applause to know you matter. In not needing confirmation to feel radiant. There's a kind of grace in becoming your own witness. I won't lie and say it's easy. I won't pretend that the ache disappears forever. But I will say this, when you stop fighting the loss, you make room for the becoming. And what's coming next is not lesser, it's richer. If you're listening to this and nodding quietly, if you've ever whispered, I miss who I used to be, I want you to know you are not gone. You are still here, just different. Still beautiful, just no longer waiting for permission to believe it. And that might be the most powerful kind of beauty there is. So here we are, still standing, still evolving, still learning how to love the reflection that doesn't quite match the memory. Maybe the world doesn't see us the way it used to. Maybe the compliments have quieted and the glances have faded. But that doesn't mean we've vanished. It means we've arrived at a new chapter. One written not in blush or eyeliner, but in resilience, in wisdom, in softness. This chapter doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. It doesn't need to be flawless to be beautiful. It just needs to be honest. And maybe that's what they never told us about aging, that the truest kind of beauty lives beyond what fades. It lives in what endures our courage, our softness, our willingness to begin again in a face that still belongs to us, even if it's changed. So if you've been feeling invisible, I see you. If you've missed the girl you used to be, she's still there, just wiser now. And if you've ever whispered, "I used to be beautiful," let me gently remind you, you still are. Just in a way the world is slower to notice, but you can notice, you must. Thank you for spending this time with me in quiet truth. If this story touched something in you, if it echoed your own inner voice, I invite you to leave a comment, share your thoughts, or even just a single sentence you wish someone had said to you. And if you'd like to keep walking with us through stories like this, moments like this, subscribe to the channel. There's a seat for you here always. Until next time, be kind to your reflection. She's lived a lot of life to get here, and she's still so beautiful.